Hi Rujhan, thank you so much for taking out the time and doing this. Rujhan has been a mechanical engineer and he worked at Maruti for 4 years, I think, before going for his MBA. And he will help me understand, how he thought about his career and what was his decision process like. Before we begin, Rujhan, can you just like give me a brief background about yourself?
Okay, cool. So I grew up in a lot of small towns. Like my dad was an NTPC, and the schooling systems there were not very great. So in a sense, like you do not have a lot of exposure of the real world. Uh, for me, like I was never given any option other than science, and like fortunately, I was inclined to it. So took up science, went for engineering. So engineering, like I'm a mechanical engineer, did my engineering from Manipal in 2007, started and finished in 2011. So what drove me to mechanical engineering is like my dad was a mechanical engineer, so that is something that came from there. And in 11th and 12th, I did find mechanics etc. very interesting. Right. So took up mechanical engineering. Got like when I started college, I started getting into a little bit of extracurricular activities, mainly on the robotics side, like, and a lot of small projects of that kind. So I found mechanical very interesting. Took up a lot of projects in that.
After 4 years of engineering, or maybe even in engineering, like you mentioned, you got involved with a lot of things like robotics, etc.
Yeah.
When people are thinking about different career paths, right, there are so many options that people have, especially after
Yeah.
undergrad. It's like you can go for a core job, you can go for a totally different field, you can even like go to higher education, right?
Yeah.
So, what was your thought process like when you were thinking about sitting for placements and looking for a job?
Okay, so like frankly speaking, I did not have a lot of idea about the how the employment industry is. It is what you hear from your friends, from your seniors. So as I told, I was very much interested in a core job. There were other options like you could go into IT, you could go into consulting, and few other options like that. And like frankly speaking, I did not understand consulting very much at that point of time. And because my interest was in core jobs, I decided to apply for some automobile companies. Luckily, I got into the first one, Maruti, which paid decently. And there were like one thing that I was looking for is any company that I'm going should have a R&D department, right? So Maruti was offering that option, so I decided to go for Maruti.
Uh, how was your like job like, right? Because when you are in college, you mentioned you were looking for R&D as well, and there are some expectations that we have before we go into the job, and once we land there, the reality could be very different. So,
Yeah.
and you were there for like 4 years, right? So, how did your journey evolve, and how did your role specifically evolve over these last 4 years?
Yeah. So like again, corporate is a very very different ball game. Uh, like till that time you have only studied. There's not much responsibility with you there. Matlab, you are just a kid at the time. When you enter the corporate world, like you are actually working, you have a lot of responsibility. So for the first 6 months when I was in Maruti, I found it a lot of fun. Uh, like you are getting your first job, first salary, as well as you are getting to learn a lot of new things. Like I was working in brakes and chassis department for Maruti, and working on like really good projects at that point of time. So to give you a glimpse, like I was working on Swift, I was working on Ertiga, Ciaz, these kind of vehicles, like design work for them. So first 1.5 year was very interesting. Like I felt like I was doing what I've studied. Like I took a lot of learning from my education and actually got to apply it in my job. So that was really really satisfying. So for the first 1.5 year, it was all good. But after 1.5 year, I felt like it's kind of getting a little bit monotonous. The kind of projects, the kind of things you work on are similar when you go from one model to another or one project to another. So I started getting a little bit bored. And again, like R&D is a very, very, very slow process. Like it takes a lot of time to actually come to fruition. And it just makes you a little bit irritated, a little bit of irritated, a little bit of bored, that you don't get to work with a dynamic system or a dynamic thing like that. So after 1.5 year, I felt a little bit out of place in Maruti, and that is when I decided that I should uh, try and seek out other options.
I think there's one question that I have, which is like related to this, right? It's like you were always interested in automobiles. You wanted to get into a core job, right? So, what would be your suggestion for people who are looking for placement at this point of time, or who are looking at different careers right now? After undergrad, what would be your advice for them before I jump to the part that you were getting bored?
Yeah. Yeah, so two, three things I would say. First is like don't take hasty decision. I think I might have taken a hasty decision when I was going for placement. Not like when I talk about consulting now that I know about it, it's an interesting field. I just dismissed consulting without even like giving it a thought. Right. So that is, I think, one mistake I made, that I did not explore option or understand what are the options there available and what all things I can do. One is that. Second is like take a risk. I was not a risk taker before. Okay. Try out something that makes you feel excited. Uh, and like you should not be afraid to switch from, like it should not be like that, okay, you have set your mind on one particular thing.
So I think I'll now come to the part where you were bored after being in this job, right?
Yeah,
Should So I think there would have been multiple options, right? Either you could have moved to another firm, or you could have gone and done MS, or you could have gone
yeah,
and done an MBA.
yeah,
So what were you thinking at that point of time, and how did you make the step to be like, okay, MBA is something which I want to do?
yeah. So the first thought I got was switching jobs. So I tried exploring with my friends, talking to my friends, and with someone as my kind of experience, okay, the switch would be into a parallel automobile company or another mechanical core domain company. So I felt that I mean, like the entire sector is not right for me. So I thought like I started exploring higher studies. Also, like my roommates, they were with like my friends from Manipal who were my roommates in Maruti. They were all exploring like different kind of options. So I used to talk to them. One of them was exploring MS. One of them was exploring an MBA. Right. So those were, I felt, two of my options that I can go for higher studies. So I had to pick between them, like what I should decide. Like, frankly speaking, I was very, very confused at the time. Like, I did want to go for MS because it sounded exciting. But with MS, probably, it will be similar kind of a work, like obviously at a much advanced level. And second thing was, uh, like you will have to go abroad because R&D opportunities in India are are very, very less. Like even in Maruti being the leader in the automobile industry in terms of R&D wise as well. So the opportunities were not there in India. So you have to go abroad. And at that point of time, I was very much against going abroad. Like I want to stay settle in India. Like it's okay for 1 or 2 years, but abroad was out of the question. So I did not go for MS. MBA was not a complete picture for me. Like I first started attending the coaching, and I talked to the teachers. Like I got into a CAT coaching, and I talked to the teachers to get a flavor and understanding of what actually MBA is. So one thing that I said, which was not there in a job, like it was not very dynamic. And one thing I got to know from MBA is like because you're dealing with markets and real business situation, it will be much more dynamic than what I was doing in Maruti. So I think that thing caught my eye, and I decided to continue pursuing the coaching and appearing for CAT. Did not get success the first time, did not get success second time, but third time I got into MBA.
So I think now this is pretty interesting, right? You landed up in MBA college and you have a mechanical degree, right, and a mechanical background. So
Yeah.
what kind of opportunities do you have now if once you do an MBA? What kind of career options are possible? And I think you went to Uber. So why did you pick that kind of a role? So if you can help me understand that.
Okay, cool. So, what I want to start with is MBA really opened my eyes. Like, I feel before that I was living in a bubble, not knowing about career opportunities or what all options are out there. So I was very narrowly focused on only one or two streams. Like when I got into MBA, I got to talk to different kind of people who have been in different spheres of life, working at different places, having different experiences. So you get to know and understand a lot, right? And second important thing that I found in MBA was the kind of things like MBA has a case study kind of a design. So you get to understand, like work on cases, real world cases. Like those were the issues that came to you. What would you have done if you were in that kind of a position? Analyze it from that point of view. So like this kind of study, this kind of friends actually give you a lot of exposure to uh, understand, first of all, understand what you want to do, and second thing, where you want to focus your next direction uh, uh, in your career. So like my experience was like it gave me a lot of options to explore. Now how did I come to Uber? So being from a operational background, one thing that I was good at and I liked doing it was a lot of analytics, a lot of work on the data. Even in my MBA days, I used to work on a lot of data, and I used to take those kind of a subject because those kind of things get to used to interest me. And taking data back analytical business decisions is something that I was looking for in my career. The second thing which I realized from Maruti was that I need to work in a good culture. So Maruti has a very PSU kind of a culture. It's a bureaucratic organization. I think that was another thing that I was a little bit discontented from. That it was not that fun. Like I think you should be enjoying what you're doing, and it was. I did not find that at Maruti after one and a half years. Okay, so so these two were my criteria. Fortunately, I got an internship in Uber. Uber, like when I was going for my summer internship, I had Amazon, I had Uber, I had a lot of marketing companies, I had a lot of consulting companies, finance companies to go after. Uber was an operational company. So I sat in the interview, I cracked it, got into Uber for my summer internship. I worked in I worked for 2 months in Uber Bangalore. So like for all the people that have been to the Bangalore airport, the entire Uber setup that you see, the entire operations, I was the one who started it during my internship. So the first step, hiring of people, taking like understanding legal terms, talking with authorities, business development, analytics, and taking business decision, how to maintain, designing the entire ops flow at the airport. So that was again my responsibility. I was talking to a lot of big shots from the airport, uh, and to the GM level, and taking decisions which were impacting daily ground activities or Uber, and helping Uber to actually grow their business at the airport. Okay, so that was really really fun. The entire responsibility was on me, and frankly speaking, I used to go to the airport every day for 1.5 months from my college, which was a 4 hour, like three and a half hour journey to the airport and from the airport. But again, like it was so much fun that I never felt that pain that I have to travel this much and work this much. Luckily, I did well at Uber and I got a pre-placement offer from Uber after my internship. So during my internship time, I had already decided that if I get a PPO at Uber, I'll work with Uber. So after my MBA, I went ahead with Uber. So that was it.
Sure. So this brings me to the last question actually, which I have, which is that you have done a lot of things now in life, if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Engineering, mechanical,
Yeah.
Maruti, MBA, Uber, now a startup. So what would be like your suggestion to people who, let's say, are exploring different career options right now and could be looking at a path similar to yours, which could be anything? I mean, either going for an MBA or working in a startup. So what would be like your suggestion for them?
So I think 4 years, 4 years in Maruti and 2 years of MBA made me realize that you should take risk. If you want to be, if you want to be doing something that you are interested in, okay, you have to explore option. Like never make a 20-year plan, like what you will be doing, or 10-year plan for that matter, what you will be doing in your career until unless you're really really sure of it. So I was, even now, like healthcare is something that I have taken up in a recent time. I'm not still now I'm not sure of it. Okay, so one thing I would like to tell people is to explore, take risk, take a things, dare to do things which you think wouldn't be possible 5 years ago. Okay, you might fail, it's okay, take it, do go exploring, because at the end of the day you will not end up having regret that, you know, 10 years ago I was thinking about it, I might have uh, as well tried it. I don't want to have that feeling. So explore those options. Okay, and if you don't find it good, you can dump it and move on to any other option. You can explore other options.
I think this is really helpful actually. So thank you so much for being with us here today and giving your valuable time.
Thanks,
I think
Sonali.
these are like important pointers that will be helpful for people who are actually looking about and trying to figure out different career paths.